blouse like this. It's honestly my favorite thing to wear are blouses like this that are more tank tops. I'm being joined by the cat. Hi, Oliver. Hi, sweetie. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to get back to the topic of teaching and getting a teaching job. So today was very exciting. I had a job fair that I went to this morning. It ended up being 2 job fairs, which is great because, 2 is better than 1. And I want to get into the whole topic of how to apply for teaching jobs, what it's like, what job fairs are like, what you want to bring, what you want to do, what you want to wear, all those kinds of things. So that's what this video is going to be about. So stay tuned if you want to get the best tips on how to get a job as a teacher and what teaching job fairs might be like. Okay, the first tip that I want to talk to you about when it comes to job fairs, whether it be for teaching or any other topic or content area, is the resumes that you bring. Now I'm going to go into the actual resume later on and possibly in a whole nother video, but I'm talking about how many resumes you actually bring with you. So what I do before I go to a job fair is I normally do lots of research into who's going to be at the job fair. This means I go in, if it's a school job fair, I look at all the different schools or school districts that are going to be present, and I go through and I decide which ones are ones that I am actually interested in applying for or talking to. I normally count those up, and that's how many resumes I bring. Obviously, I suggest bringing at least 5 extras. So if there's about 15 different schools at a job fair, I'd probably honestly bring 15. Now you might be thinking, I only want to talk to 10 of them. Yes, but like the job fair I went to today, I made this mistake. I went on their website beforehand and I looked at the schools. There were only 6 that I was intending on talking to. When luckily I brought 10 different resumes, but when I got there were at least 2 or 3 other schools that were on my interested list that were not listed on the job fair website. So luckily I had brought a couple extras, but I cut it really close. So I would definitely suggest bringing at least 5 extra resumes to a job fair. Now if it's a very large job fair, such as ones in major cities where they have, over 100 different vendors or districts, I would bring probably 10 extra minimum. Now, this might seem like a lot, but you know what? You can't print more resumes at a job fair, but you can take them home and use them again another day. So having too many is much better than having not enough. Hey guys, sorry about that. I was filming at a grocery store when I was talking about my first tip, which is about resumes, and it just got kind of weird. There was people that pulled in next to me and weren't getting out of their cars, so I just decided to call it a day and to pick up the filming this morning. So I want to get back to my tips. On to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is going to be about your clothing. So most people are going to say you want to dress up really professionally and dress for success, and I'm not going to say that that's not totally true, but one thing I would like to change is to say dress for success, which means you might need to dress so you feel very comfortable. So for instance, what I am wearing right now, which I will show you in just a minute, is something that I would wear to a job fair. I would just change my sweater that I'm wearing to a blazer. So I'll show you what I'm wearing. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I'm wearing. I don't have a full-length mirror right now. Mine broke, and so I don't want to do it in my bathroom either because we have a fan that's connected to the light and it's really loud. So I'm going to try my best to show you what I'm wearing by holding my camera. So as you can see, I'm wearing this sweater, which like I just said, I wouldn't wear to a job fair. Instead, I would change this out for my black blazer that I actually wore to the job fair a couple days ago. My shirt is just a nice blouse that I like to wear. I wear this when I'm doing teaching a lot too. And my pants are slacks, but I'm not gonna lie, they are a stretchy pair of slacks, and that's something that's totally up to you. I really love wearing these pants because they make me feel very comfortable. So the main thing with clothing is to be comfortable as far as I'm concerned, because it makes you feel more confident. And again, it's obviously up to you what kind of clothing you want to wear when you go to a job fair, but personally, I get really nervous if I feel uncomfortable in something. If something's, too tight, or if it's revealing at all, it makes me very uncomfortable, and I think about that the whole time, and I find myself getting really fixated on the wrong things, or I get nervous, and when I get nervous, I'll get sweaty, I'll get red on my face, and I don't want any of that to show, especially when I'm already at something that's, a bit nerve-wracking like a job fair. So when I went to my job fair a couple days ago, I wore the same pants that I'm wearing right now. I wore a green blouse. It was obviously not the same as this one, but same idea, you know, just like a tank top blouse like this. It's honestly my favorite thing to wear are blouses like this that are more tank tops. I'm being joined by the cat. Okay, sorry about that. Oliver is very interested in what I'm doing. I've raised my voice from, you know, just quietly sitting here on my laptop, and he was sleeping over in his cat tree, and it got him going. So he's actually sitting on the table right below my camera, trying to bat at the handle. So back to the clothing tips. Like I was saying, this is basically what I wore the other day to the job fair, but I wore a blazer with a different top, the same pants, and then I wore some gray flats because I find those to be more comfortable than something with a heel, especially when I'm going to be standing in one spot talking to someone. I don't want to be dancing back and forth because my feet hurt wearing heels. And obviously if you have a pair of heels or something like that that you find comfortable to wear, go for it. You know, it's totally up to you. These are just my thoughts that I have when I get ready for something like a job fair. Okay, and finally, another thing with clothing is the jewelry. I always recommend wearing some jewelry. It makes you look a little bit more put together and a little bit less nervous, because at least it means that you remembered to put on jewelry, which if you're running late to a job fair or you're just super nervous for the job fair, you can obviously forget to do. So I actually wore these same earrings to the job fair. They're really nice. They're little pearls with like a lace pattern on them. I really like them. And then I didn't wear this necklace that I'm wearing right now. This is just an older necklace that I threw on today. But instead I wore a nice string of pearls. And I had a pearl bracelet, but I didn't feel like wearing it. It didn't really matter. It wasn't a necessary thing. But I would definitely suggest putting on earrings if you have them or feel comfortable wearing them, as well as a necklace, because this is the area that the person's going to be looking at when they're talking to you. And they're going to, you know, glance around at your face, and it's just going to make you look more put together. Okay, tip number 3. Tip number 3 is all about your makeup and hair. If you're a guy, I know a lot of this video isn't going to be useful for you, but, you know, sorry, I don't know many tips for guys for getting ready for job fair. So, makeup and hair for a job fair. My hair is a little crazy right now, but honestly, this is what I do with my hair most of the time. I'm not big into like straightening my hair very often or curling it or doing much else with it. My morning routine for my hair is to shower, brush it out, let it dry. It's just who I am. So for the job fair, I blow dried my hair, and then I have a little tip for people who might have hair like mine, where it can get really frizzy on the top and you'll have lots of flyaways. My tip is to use some hairspray on your hairbrush and to brush it down and brush it back. I have a little clip that I'll insert. It's not very exciting, but it does show you the difference between one side of my hair with that technique being used and the other side of my hair without it being used, and you can definitely see a difference. It also helps me feel more confident in myself, knowing that when I'm walking around at the job fair and I'm talking to people who might hire me, that I know my hair is not just flying all over the place. And especially if you nervously maybe touch your hair, you know that chances are the hairspray is going to help hold it in place, and you're not going to walk around with like, your hair looking all crazy because there's some hairspray in it. So that's just one tip that I have for your hair. Okay, the second part to tip number 3 was about makeup. My makeup right now that I'm wearing is basically what I wore the other day to the job fair. The only thing that I would add to this look is a small amount of lipstick. I wear a lipstick that's a fairly similar color to my natural lip tone, and I always put on just a little bit of the lipstick with chapstick because I prefer having chapstick on my lips anyway, and I also find that it helps to keep my lips from drying out and getting weird, skin goopy crap on your lips. So that's what I did. I keep it natural. Personally, I don't wear makeup very often. One thing that I would say for a job fair personally is I don't like to wear eyeshadow or like eyeliner, because for me, I don't have the right kind of makeup or the right kind of skills to do it where like after a while the eyeshadow won't start to get all gunked up from the sweat and just the pure amount of like, blinking my eyes. So I don't want to walk around in the middle of the day going, oh gosh, does my eyeliner look okay, or does, is my eyeshadow all messed up on my face, and people are like staring at me like, your makeup looks crazy. I like to keep it minimal, or to a minimum. I like to keep it to a minimum, so I would wear just my normal foundation with a light brushing of powder. Obviously you can tell I don't do makeup very often. And then I fill in my eyebrows a little bit with just like a powder because my eyebrows are really thick hair, and so they are patchy. I mean, not patchy, but they're just like you can see through them. So I like to fill it in a little bit so it looks more like a solid eyebrow. I don't know how to explain that, but that's just what I do. And then I put on just regular mascara, and then like I said, just a tiny bit of lipstick. I'm going to say this over and over again in this video. All these tips I'm giving you are just personal things that I do that I would like to share with you in case this is maybe your very first time going to a job fair. So, take it or leave it. It's all up to you, but I just think it would be helpful for someone who maybe doesn't have very much makeup experience or doesn't like wearing makeup very often to give you tips on things like this. Okay, I'm about to give you tip number 4. I just wanted to quickly say, if you like these tip videos or other things that I've posted on the channel, please, please, please hit the like button and the subscribe button, and I will give you as much of the content as I possibly can. Just leave comments down below as well with topics that you want me to talk about, and I'll get those out to you as soon as possible. Okay, now for tip number 4, I want to talk about what you want to bring. As I mentioned in tip number 1, obviously you want to bring plenty of resumes. As well as resumes, I suggest bringing a pen, bringing a portfolio. Now when I say portfolio, I don't mean like a portfolio of your teaching lessons and things like that. I mean like a leather folio. So bring resumes, a pen, your folio, gum. Now gum, don't chew it when you're in the same room as all the employers. Do it somewhere else, in the bathroom for a couple minutes if you feel like your breath is getting a bit nasty. You don't want to be talking to someone with gum in your mouth, okay? Bring it, for sure. Don't chew it in the same room as the people, or God forbid, when you're talking to them. Okay, so bring resumes, folio, pen, gum, chapstick. If you like to wear chapstick, like I said, I layer my chapstick with my lipstick, so I make sure to bring more chapstick. And also a list of the schools or employers that you want to talk to. So for the pen, the folio, and the list of schools, the reason you bring a pen is because I suggest having a notepad in the folio to write down little details about the schools. So what I do when I go up to a school is I have them on a list that I brought with me, so I know which ones I actually want to talk to. When I'm talking to them, if they say anything important or interesting to me, I will actually jot it down in my folio as I'm talking to them. Now, I personally think that this makes you look more put together, that it makes you look more professional and serious about your interest in them. A lot of people will bring leather folios with them and just squeeze onto it and never open it. But when you open it and take the time to write a note about the person that you're talking to, I think it adds a little touch that makes them notice you. So that's my suggestion and why I bring a pen. I also use my notepad and my pen for after I'm done talking to the school, and I step aside, I take a second to myself, and I write down any notes or important dates that they may have mentioned, such as when they would be posting more jobs, and I write those in my notepad. Okay? So another thing with the folio, why to bring it, is because you can put your resumes inside of it, which is just a safer way to carry them, and it's a more professional looking way to do so. So my suggestion to you, other than your keys and things like that, is to bring your resumes, your pen, make sure it works, gum, your folio, chapstick, and a list of the schools or employers that you want to talk to. That's really helpful to me also, the list is, because sometimes you're walking around and there's all these booths and people are like, hey, hi, come talk to me, and you're like, I don't remember if I'm interested in you or not, and it's just nice to be able to just glance inside your portfolio, look at your list, and go, okay, yeah, I want to talk to these guys, they're really important. It also helps you to make sure you don't miss anyone. That can be a big mistake. You go to a fair, you get overwhelmed, and then you walk out and you're like, crap, I missed this really important school that I wanted to talk to, or employer. So bring a list of the schools. It makes you look more put together too if anyone sees it. Okay, tip number 5. Tip number 5 also goes along with the previous tip, which is about what to bring with you. So tip number 5 is to do a little bit of research. What I do before I go to a job fair is I pull up my list of schools, and then I also pull up Google, and I will literally Google the school district or the employer if you're looking at just general employers. So when I look them up, I would go to like the website for the school and I look at what their motto is, and I would write that down in my folio on that notepad next to the school's name, so that way before I walk up to a school, let's say especially if it's later on in the hiring process, if they're doing interviews at the job fair, it makes you look more professional if during your conversation with the person you can bring up aspects of their motto or vision statement or their goals as an instructional institute. If you can bring up those items and say, I really enjoy your school's motto about doing blah blah and blah, it really sticks with them because it shows that you have a serious interest in them and that you did your research. So that's one big tip that I have for you, is to do some sort of research into the companies, employers, or school districts that you might be wanting to talk to, especially if you know that they're doing interviews at the job fair, because those are the kind of small details that are going to make you stand out from the crowd. Tip number 6 is about what questions to ask when you're talking to someone, especially a school district, when you're actually talking to them. So one thing to remember about a job fair is you're possibly being interviewed. They could actually ask you to do an interview on site there, but that's a separate thing. When you're talking to them one-on-one at the job fair, remember, you're not actually being interviewed yet. You can ask them questions. It's not just a one-way thing. You want to make sure your interaction goes 2 directions, okay? You want to ask them questions and then answer their questions as best as you can. Now, I do this by asking a simple question that catches a lot of people off guard when I ask them, and it helps them remember you. You stand out a little bit in their mind, and it can really help you kind of see into what the school district is like. I would say, what is your favorite thing about working for the school district? And the reaction that I get most of the time is a little like, oh, that's a really good question, which is exactly what you want them to think about or think of you when they're talking to you. So by doing that, 1, I'm showing them that I'm really interested in the interaction I'm having with them. 2, I'm really interested in the actual school district and working for their school district. And 3, it helps me get to know the school district and see, how much do the employees who are here to show off their school district, how much do they actually enjoy working there? Now, for instance, the job fair that I just went to, I had some that were great answers. They said, oh man, I've been working for the school district for 14 years and I love the kids. The kids are so diverse and they're so exciting and they're so interactive, things like that. I also had another school district where I asked the gentleman I was talking to, what's your favorite thing about working for the school district? And he gave me this kind of lame answer. He was like, oh, I like the community of people, and he wasn't very excited when he told me. So personally, that kind of hits me. I'm like, oh, this person doesn't like working for the school district, or obviously maybe they're just having a bad day and they're not feeling it, but when you're at a job fair trying to sell your school district, you want to make sure people feel that energy that you have about your school district. So that's another reason why I ask it. Now, what I do after I'm done talking to that school district is next to their name on my notepad, I'll actually write down a couple keywords that, tell me what their answer was. So for instance, I would say, okay, this school district, I would just say kids next to it. Like the person was saying, how great the kids are. Because when I go back through and I see, like lousy answer next to their district, then I'm gonna be like, okay, I'll have them lower down on my list maybe. Okay, so that's one tip I have for you, is asking questions as well. Okay, tip number 7. Tip number 7 that I have for you is what to do when you're actually there. My main tip for walking around is to take your time. Now I know you may say, okay, that's great, but I have like 14 different schools I want to talk to, and this whole thing is only a couple hours long. I totally get it. However, you don't want to go from one high stress situation or interaction directly into another one, because you're just going to get overwhelmed. So what I do, like I mentioned earlier, is when I'm done talking to a person, I step aside for a moment, I maybe get a glass of water, and I write down a couple notes, and I take a breather, and then I kind of walk around it for a minute, and then find the next school that I'd like to talk to. So the reason I do this is because it keeps me from getting overwhelmed. I feel like I'm having a new fresh interaction with each person, not like I'm just bouncing back and forth. It also keeps me from making any mistakes, like, you know, oh, I love your school district, and they're like, that's not my school district. You don't want that, okay? So take your time, especially if it's your first job fair. Okay, take your time. You don't want to get overwhelmed. It's a really amazing opportunity to get to go to a job fair and to meet all these amazing schools or employers. So take your time, enjoy it as much as you can. You know, grab one of those free cookies that they have, get a glass of water, eat your cookie, chew that gum in a different room, you know, make sure your hair looks okay in the bathroom real quick. Do any of those little things. Just do a loop around, see what the lines are like at different places. Do something in between each one so you're not just going from one to the other, because it also makes you look like you're shopping. I mean, that is what you're doing, but you know, you don't want to be like, oh, I love your school district to the person right here, right at this table, and then 20 seconds later, you're like, oh, I love your school district to this other person. You know, they can't hear you, and they might recognize you if you do it right afterwards too, and then they're like, you said you love my school district. Don't do that, you know. Go to a different one. Come back to that other one, maybe, you know, when there's a different person at the other, you know, just take your time, do something in between so that you don't get overwhelmed. Another part of the whole taking your time tip is that you want to write down those important pieces of information that you get from school districts, because sometimes it's going to be when their jobs are going to be showing up on their website or on a different website, what website you want to go on to apply to the jobs, what positions they might have in a certain school that you were interested in, and other, you know, pieces of information like that. So that's another big reason why you want to stop and take a second and write down those notes as well, because they're going to be really helpful when you come home with 10 little bags, the little drawstring bags or insulated bags, you know, 40 different pens, a couple stress balls, a buttload of business cards, and just a bunch of paperwork. You're going to be overwhelmed by all the stuff you just received, and you're going to have no idea who is who or any information about the schools that you gained from the job fair. So writing down those notes, you're bringing down your stress level, because you're going to read through your notes and go, oh, that school, that's right. That was the one where they love their kids and they love their job. They've been doing it for 40 years and they wish they could do it for another 40. You know, you want to make sure you have those notes because they're really important in the long run. Okay, folks, you've come to the end. Honestly, I'd say this is probably one of the most important tips that I can give you. It's going to sound really cheesy, but it is to be yourself. Be yourself and smile. So you're going to be stressed out, you're going to be nervous, you're going to be thinking about a whole bunch of things that you shouldn't think about. You need to remember to smile, breathe, enjoy yourself. Remember, you are not physically being interviewed yet. Yes, you want to make a good impression on the person that you're talking to, but remember, they may not remember you at all. So, if you are, you know, super out there and great, they might remember you, that's fine. But chances are you're going to be another resume in the pile. There are a couple things that might help them remember you, but enjoy yourself. Don't worry about being that number one standout person, okay? Yes, you want to stand out, but be yourself. That's the best way you're going to do it, because if you come in for an interview later on and they're like, oh, I remember this person, she was so great, she was so bubbly and out there, and she was so knowledgeable, and they ask you a different question, you know, about something that you're maybe not so knowledgeable about or whatever like that in the interview, and you're, you know, quiet and shy and really nervous, and you're just a totally different person and you don't remember any of your, you know, big fancy educational terms, they might be a little put off. So Be yourself. Maybe don't be, super shy, because you are trying to sell yourself at the job fair. But, don't be like, oh, I'm this bubbly person and I love everything. If it's not you, don't do it, okay? Because they're hiring you as the person, okay? They only want to hire you if they like you. They don't want to hire this other personality. They're not hiring you to run a show, okay? So be yourself and smile. You're teaching kids, not picking up dog poop. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. Those were just 8 tips that I could think of from my experience going to job fairs, especially ones that are for teaching positions. So if you liked this video, give it a like, hit the subscribe button, okay? Give me tips and suggestions for videos you want me to do, and I will get those out to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.